The moment Amara stepped into the grand hall, time slowed. Velvet drapes framed towering windows that overlooked the private gardens, their roses glowing under golden floodlights. A chandelier the size of a small car sparkled overhead, scattering light across crystal glasses, polished silverware, and guests dressed in couture so precise it could cut. Whispers traveled faster than the music. That's her. American. She married him? Just look at that necklace. Amara kept her chin lifted, her back straight. She was no stranger to being watched, but this was different. These weren't mere guests. They were power brokers. Old money. Eyes that knew how to weigh souls like scales. Wei Chen didn't slow. His hand rested lightly on her lower back as he guided her toward the long table at the center of the room. It was set for 20. At the head sat Grandmother Chen, her expression carved from marble. "Grandmother," Wei Chen said with a bow. "Wei," she nodded, eyes immediately shifting to Amara. "Your wife." "Yes." The old woman rose and walked toward Amara, her gaze sharp and unwavering. "I've seen the photos, but photographs lie." The silence that followed was sharp. Several guests paused mid-sip. Grandmother Chen's lips curled into something that might have been approval or a challenge. "We shall see." Dinner blurred into a ballet of delicacies and diplomacy. Waiters served dish after dish: Peking duck, truffle soup, sea bass wrapped in lotus leaves. Amara barely touched hers. Questions flew like daggers. "What are your intentions for the Chen legacy? Where did you attend school? Are you planning to learn Mandarin? How do your parents feel about the arrangement?" She answered calmly, one measured word at a time. She referenced her studies, her family, her admiration for Chinese culture. She smiled, but never too widely. She played her part, and yet it wasn't enough. Every time she breathed, she felt Grandmother Chen watching her. Finally, midway through dessert, the older woman placed her fork down and spoke. "You are beautiful, intelligent, but you were not chosen. You were necessary." Amara didn't blink. "I'm aware." "Then understand this. Wei Chen's name is a crown, but crowns are heavy and sharp. If you falter, if you bleed, it is not the crown's fault." A cold quiet spread across the table. Wei Chen stiffened beside her. "Grandmother." But Amara reached for her glass and lifted it. "To sharp things," she said, locking eyes with the woman. "May we all be wise enough not to dull them." A pause. Then a few guests chuckled. One even clapped softly. Grandmother Chen tilted her head. "Indeed." When dinner ended, the guests filtered toward the music room, leaving the family alone. Amara stepped aside to catch her breath by the window. Wei Chen joined her, silent for a long moment. "You were magnificent," he said at last. "I wasn't trying to be. That's why it worked." She turned to him. "Why does your grandmother hate me?" "She doesn't. Not yet. She's testing you. And you passed. For now." "She doesn't want a granddaughter-in-law," he said. "She wants an ally or an enemy." Amara nodded. "And what about you, Wei Chen? What do you want?" He looked at her like she was a puzzle he hadn't finished solving. I don't know yet. The room quieted around them as the guests moved further away, and the music softened into something haunting. She told me something, he added, almost to himself. When I was 15, she said, when you marry, don't pick someone who completes you. Pick someone who can walk through fire beside you. Amara turned toward the window. And do you think I'm that someone? He didn't answer, but when she looked at the glass, she saw his reflection turn toward hers. Outside, the roses swayed in the night breeze. Inside, war bloomed in silence. And as Amara stared into her own reflection, she realized this wasn't about survival anymore. This was about dominion. She would not just survive the Chen estate. She would learn to rule it. Back in the corridor, as Amara made her way toward the powder room, she overheard hushed voices behind a tall partition. Marriage will never last. She's too bold. She doesn't know how this world works. She'll be gone before the next quarter's merger. Amara paused. Her fingers curled into fists, nails biting into her palm. As she turned the corner, one of the women froze, a glass of champagne halfway to her lips. "Oh," she said. "Didn't see you there." Amara smiled, the kind that warned of approaching storms. "You will." The woman blinked. "Excuse me?" But Amara was already walking away. She didn't need their approval. She didn't even need their respect. She needed something else. Power. She found Grandmother Chen in the gallery hall, staring at an oil painting of her late husband. "You knew they were talking about me," Amara said, stepping beside her. "I did. And you didn't stop them." "I never stop small fires. They reveal what resists burning." Amara's jaw tightened. "I won't be intimidated." "Good," Grandmother Chen said, "because next week we travel to Hangzhou, the provincial gala. You'll give your first speech as Mrs. Chen." Amara blinked. "What?" "It's televised. You will represent the family. Smile. Speak well. And don't trip." "I never do." Grandmother Chen looked at her for a long beat. "Walk carefully, Mrs. Chen. The path before you is lined with silk and razors." As she walked away, Amara felt a cold certainty settle over her shoulders like a cloak. The games had begun. And she was no longer the pawn. She was learning to play queen. Later that night, long after the last guest had left, Amara wandered into the quiet library. She needed space to breathe, to think. The fire had dimmed to embers. A shadow moved between the bookshelves. She tensed until she saw who it was. Wei Chen, in shirt sleeves now, holding a drink, his eyes far away. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked. "I could ask you the same." She stepped closer. "Your grandmother, she isn't just testing me. She's testing us." He nodded slowly. "She always plays the long game. But she never bets on anyone she can't use." Amara sipped from the glass he offered her. "Then let's make ourselves indispensable." Their eyes met, and in the silence between heartbeats, something unspoken sparked. They were no longer strangers playing parts. They were co-conspirators in a game neither could afford to lose. "We'll win this," she whispered, more to herself than him. Not because we're lucky, but because we're willing to do what they won't. And somewhere outside, beneath the swaying roses, a storm was rising. Thunder cracked in the distance like a warning, but in her chest, it sounded like an anthem. Amara smiled faintly. Let it come. Because when the storm arrived, she wouldn't cower. She would dance in it, crowned in silk, cloaked in fire.